Hey guys, let's continue on. We're still looking at Genesis and we're now moving to Genesis 3. All right. Genesis 2 ends with, in verse 25, and they were both naked, the man and his wife. Notice it doesn't say woman, it says wife because it's talking about the relationship role, okay? Remember, he named her as, well, I hate to say like a species per se. God named him man and allowed him, as woman came out, to give her, woman, that title as far as not a personal name, but a group name. All right. And so they're both naked, and now it's as wife because that is her role. Woman is not the role. Wife is a role in what they're talking about in this relationship. And woman is an aspect when put together with man, create one, taking us back to the oneness that they were first created in, which is in the likeness of Elohim, right? The creator. Okay, in chapter 3, verse 1 says, and the Nagash, or the serpent, or the shining one, there are different words in different Bibles, was more crafty than all the lives of the field, which Yahweh Elohim had made. So, the Lord made them all, even the serpent, okay? And he said to the woman, this is what the serpent said, is it true that Elohim has said? Now, let's stop right there before we talk about what he says. Let's talk about the naked, and let's talk about, is it true what Elohim says? You notice that the serpent addresses him by the title, not by a name, not by Yahweh, not the merciful one, but as the creator, the judge, the all-powerful. And that's really important in this because that is what he's really going at. He's really honing in on the all-powerful one. That's where he's trying to pull her in. Okay, let's go back up to the Nagash, the shining one. Remember, Adam and Eve are clothed in the righteousness of the Lord. They're clothed in what God created them in, which, okay, they were naked, meaning there was no covering. There was nothing to hide at all. Everything was revealed to the Lord. I mean, the Lord created it all, right? And they were in perfect unison with the Lord. Okay, so that nakedness of Adam and Eve was to bear it all. There was nothing to be ashamed of. Yet the hint to the nakedness, the shining one, nakedness of the serpent was hiding. He was cunning. In his nakedness, he was hiding something, okay? So in his full glory, in his shining, and it said that obviously he has legs because he loses them later, that he was upright. He was naked, no fur like an animal. So there was maybe as much of a similarity as possible between the man, Adam and Eve, and the serpent. It's also thought of that the serpent as the shining one might have been a creation that was very similar to possibly the seraphim, and I say seraphim because the seraphim have one face. Those are the angelics that are around the top of the throne of the Lord and sing regularly, praising the Lord. Holy, holy, holy is the Lord God Almighty. Now let's remember this, that we see, I think it's in Ezekiel 14 or 21, off the top of my head. It's Isaiah 14 and Ezekiel 21, I think, one of those. Anyway, it talks about that Satan, as Lucifer, was involved in the worship. So that would be interesting if maybe he was in some way affiliated not just with the cherubim, but with the seraphim. The seraphim have a serpent form while they still have legs and wings and feet. Again, we have here that the serpent had feet. So he could be in the form of the highest regarded angelic being. Kind of interesting, huh? Yet this angelic being, even being of his quote, quote, highest, most beautiful, still took on the challenge to say, I'm not satisfied with how I was created. I want your job, to the creator. And that's the same challenge he's going to give to mankind. Look, we guys kind of look alike. We've got the skin. We're both shining. And now I'm going to pull you in. Now, let me say this. This serpent is actually a creation, a serpent. This isn't Satan. This is possibly, I would say, a tool of Satan. Okay? But this is a real creature that the Lord allowed, that the Lord created, that allowed itself to entertain the enemy. enemy. Now, what was oh my gosh, where's my brain? What was Adam's job? Adam and Eve were to guard the tree, right? Guard the tree that no one takes advantage of the tree of good and evil, right? Tree of knowledge. So that was their job, to guard, to stay on guard against. How often can we let our guards down because we're like, well, we've waited for so long and we've trained for so long and then nothing really happens and then we get sloppy. Well, while I don't want to say she got sloppy, she did get tricked. So we have the shining one who's presenting himself as lovely like her. Now, I want to throw out some other thoughts. It is possible, and this is a midrash discussion, it is possible that the serpent who was named by Adam, remember Adam gave all the animals their names. So here we have a serpent. Could Satan have put in the jealousy, wanting more, into the serpent when he allowed it to come in, of wanting Eve as his mate? Maybe the idea of, look, your dude Adam named me. I don't like that. That means he has dominion over me. Not having that. I want that woman. I want the one that came from man's. I want what will make him jealous to show. So a part of the presentation is very possible that he's presenting himself as a possible mate for Eve, as a possible equivalent or better than Adam. And on that thought, I'd like to go to 2 Corinthians 11, verse 2. And this has to do with Messiah and his bride. And remember, Adam and Eve are a pattern for us to understand Messiah with his bride. In 2 Corinthians 11:2, it says, "For I am jealous for you," and this is Paul, "I'm jealous for you with the jealousy according to Elohim." All right. "For I gave you in marriage to one husband to present you as an innocent maiden to Messiah." Eve was created for one husband, right? As an innocent maid, an innocent virgin bride for Eve. So this is the same idea. And then it says in verse 3, "But I am afraid lest as the serpent deceived Eve by his trickery, so your minds shall be corrupted from the simplicity in which is in Messiah." Again, do you see this? He's talking about her as a bride, but the serpent is going to steal her away. Again, kind of supporting the idea that maybe what we have going on here is a little bit of, I'm going to take you a woman, and here's how I'm going to do it. One, I didn't like you naming me, and two, I had this desire to be greater, and I can't be greater without that woman. All right? Because remember, that's a part of the oneness of Adam and Eve. So if he's wanting to replace Adam, who has dominion over everything, he's got to get Eve to be that counterpart. All right, so now let's look at the question. And we do know that it says in the New Testament that Eve was deceived. All right, it says the question, I'm back in Genesis 3, verse 1 at the very end. So it says, "Is it true that Elohim has said, 'Do not eat of every tree of the garden'?" That's a negative. Is it true that he said, "Don't eat of every tree of the garden"? Well, that's not what he said. But interesting how he gave to the negative. He could have said, "Is it true that he said not to eat of one tree?" But that's not it. Because see, that leads straight to truth. Yes, that's what he said. Moving on. But by twisting it a little bit, it's going to make her think. Now, we go straight for the negative. Think about the lust in us. Don't walk on the grass. God, I just want to walk on the grass, right? You can't eat that. All I want to do is eat, right? For whatever reason, our sinful nature just wants the opposite of what we're told we can't. Eve doesn't have that sinful nature yet. So the negative of "do not eat" shouldn't grab her to like, "Oh, wait, now I just want that," because she doesn't have that. However, let's look in verse 2. "And the woman said to the Negash," to the shining one, "We are to eat of the fruit of the trees of the garden." She's sharing the positive command, which was given in chapter 2 by the Lord. He gave the positive. "But Of the fruit of the tree which is in the midst of the garden, Elohim said, do not eat of it, nor touch it, lest you die. Okay, so let's think about this. Her response was, no, he said to eat of them all. Oh yeah, but we're supposed to guard this one. Let's look at how she talks about in the midst. She mentions in the midst of the garden, but when we go back to chapter 2, it says, chapter 2 verse 9, it says, with the tree of life in the midst of the garden and the tree of knowledge of good and evil. It is possible that they're both in the midst of the garden, or it's possible that the tree of life is in the center, and then there's also one, but that also one is not the focus of the Father, of the Creator. That's, oh yeah, and then there's this one. You're going to protect that one, but there's this one. But what Eve does is she moves the order of what's in the midst of the garden, what's in the very center. And now what's in the center is exactly what Satan wants her to do, wants her to participate in. It's almost like, sometimes we talk too much, and then we give the devil an opportunity. No, this is not a negative against salesmen, but sometimes when we talk too much, we give them a reason, something to hold on to help convince us, or with anybody. I mean, with our kids. No, you can't because. And we give the because, and they're like, oh yeah, but that wouldn't happen. No. No, you can't go there because if you do, you might drown. Oh, no. We're not going to drown if we swim there. We're going to have on life jackets, and we're going to be with adults. See what I'm saying? Because, and then we give a reason. A lot of times that reason is what will be used against us in negotiating. So when she says that in the midst of the garden, it says, but he says, do not eat of it nor touch it, lest you die. Now that's not what they're told. Remember back in chapter 2, when the Lord says in verse 17, don't eat of it. You're going to guard it, not eat of it. Remember, Eve was in him, right? They were one. She got the same thing. But now there's a thing called fences. A fence is basically where you say, well, I'm not supposed to eat that, so I'm not even going to have it in my house. Okay? Maybe someone's allergic to something. I don't eat, I don't know what, let's say, I don't eat coconut. So I don't even like coconut sprays in my house. I don't like the smell. A fence is something, here's a great point. So do not commit adultery or fornication, right? So you don't go and dress certain ways and get drunk because that may lead you into it. I don't know why. That's just the thought I came to. You don't hang out in certain places that are going to get you in trouble. Those are your fences. Your fences are, I can't do this, but I'm going to push it out a little bit so I don't even get close to accidentally falling into that position, right? I mean, you get plastered and you're like, I didn't mean to have sex with that guy. No, but you got plastered that put you in the position. But if you had the fence, you would say, I'm not getting plastered. And then that won't happen. See what I'm saying? Okay. That's just the best example I can give at the moment because that's all I can think of. All right. Not that getting plastered is all I can think of. I mean, that's the only example I can think of. All right. Come on. Let's get back over here. So she says not even to touch it. There's your, I can manipulate this. I can play with her words. Now let's think about this too. Eve has never had to think about how she says something being misconstrued. That's not even, Adam's not doing that. They're very honest. They're in there shining. There's nothing hiding. So you say it, you understood what that meant. But Satan in the serpent is going to be crafty. Okay. And let's remember that the actual serpent at this time has not fallen. Because Adam and Eve, Adam has dominion over everything. Sin can only enter in. Death can only enter in through Adam and Eve. And really Adam as the head, as the total. Only when that body, the wholeness, the fullness of Adam and Eve, sin, can death enter in. So even though the serpent would have had allowed Satan to mess with him or take control of his body or give him ideas, he is not in the position to be separated. Thus, he can remain shining and look just like a perfect being because he's not the one that determines whether life or death enters into the world. Okay, he wasn't given the commandment. Adam and Eve were. All right. So let's go to verse 4. And the Nagash, the serpent, said to the woman, you shall certainly not die. Now let's think about this. The word die for separation, not even a concept. We talked about that before. There's the experiential and there's the head knowledge. They understood die as in to be separated, but they're not understanding die as in also a fleshly death and separation. I mean, like there's a whole lot involved in that. That it's not even fathomable. That I don't think I said that right, but close enough. You can't even think of it. It's hard to think about things that we don't know. I mean, I don't really understand in depth how space works. I understand some of it. But if you start going into quantum science and numbers and talking about those aspects, I get a little lost. I don't even know what I don't know. Well, that's kind of how this was. They didn't even know what they don't know that's locked in with sin, with the fall of Satan. So it's hard to think I need to have what I don't know I have to really, quote, name it and claim it what you want. Okay? All right. I hope that made sense. So he says you certainly can't die. Verse 5 says, for Elohim knows that in the day that you eat of it, your eyes shall be open, and you shall be like Elohim, knowing good and evil. Oh, right now the enemy is defining what death looks like. We talk about that. I talk about that all the time. We can't let people, our culture, the enemy define words. We have to let the Bible define the words. And the Lord says separation, death is separation. But here the enemy's like, no. It's just having your eyes open. It's really not that scary. I mean, you're still going to see them. It's not separation. Your eyes will be open. So he's redefining what death looks like. And on that note, we're going to stop, because this is supposed to be a little short thing, and then we will come back and we will talk about what this death looks like and eyes being opened when we come back together. All right, have a great day, and thanks for sticking around. Bye-bye.